crush the competition, dominate your competitors, destroy your enemies.
We've been conditioned to think this way. There's competition, and then there's ugly competition. And the me first attitude and the idea of completely destroying the other in the fight to get to the top has not served us human beings well, has it? It might briefly get you somewhere, but in the end, it isn't a good idea for longevity if you are nasty to the people that you are in competition with. It's not the best strategy if you want to be known for things like integrity and trustworthiness. It's also not great if you want to be known for putting the customer first. Nor is it good for industry longevity, because let's face it, you might be around a lot longer than the company that you happen to be working for. If you'd like to be liked, if you'd like to be known for being a respectable person with an unassailable character, then you might want to rethink this strategy of being unkind or just not nice to your competition. I'm Jen, your career coach, and this is a viewer request. This topic was a question about being out in the field and running into competition, sales team people, and wondering whether or not to be nice to them. The person asking the question was feeling awkward about it and not really knowing how to behave or to act when they run into somebody that they know who's on the other side of the competition. This question is an excellent question, and I hope that I can answer it for you. In short, the answer is yes, be nice, but I'm going to tell you why. As I said earlier, people tend to live generally longer than most companies do. In the 1950s, 1960s, that was different. Companies used to last an awful lot longer. But recent research has shown that most companies on average last about 21 years. Maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. Now there are exceptions to this number, of course, but for the most part, that's not a very long time, is it? When most human beings live 70, 80, 90 years old. And hopefully, barring any unforeseen tragedies, you may well outlive this company, even in your working career. And so what legacy do you want to leave? If you are nice to people, if you are respectful to people, then you might not have any regrets that you need to live with later. If you decide to go all nasty and crush the competitor's route and be mean and vindictive and climbing that ladder with strategy. And there's nothing wrong with competition. There's nothing wrong with healthy competition, but it doesn't mean you need to be nasty or underhanded or mean. It will be an awful lot easier and nicer to have a chat with somebody, have a drink with them when you run into them on vacation, when you meet them in an unexpected place at a party or something years later. It will be a lot easier if you've built some camaraderie along the way. What else does being nice to your competition in sales do? Well, it builds trust. It builds integrity. It actually brings you a certain amount of respect. It elevates you to the level of classy, and who doesn't want a little bit more of that? There are an awful lot of people vying for the same piece of the pie, whatever the pie happens to be. If you are in the movie or the theater world and you are in an audition room and you are waiting and you are there and there are 15 other people who kind of look like you in there vying for the same part, it doesn't serve well to be nasty and super competitive in that space, because you never know who's watching. You never know who is paying attention to how you conduct yourself. And if you can conduct yourself with class, with kindness, with respect of the other person's humanity, then you will go a lot farther than if you play the nasty game. Are there things that you can say that are complimentary about the people that you run into? Can you Can you strike up a conversation? Can you find commonalities so that you can build rapport with those people and make some friends, even if you are on the other side of one fence when you get into the field, into the actual sales situation? And so if you are in sales and you are out in the field and you run into somebody who you know is a competitor, try this little experiment. Ask them how they're doing. Ask them how they're holding up. Offer them a sincere compliment. Invite them to go have a coffee with you or to have a drink with you. Have some kind of opening way in to make a connection with this other person. And then, even if you are in steep competition, don't give away your secrets. I mean, keep it friendly, keep it light, keep it human, and keep it real. And then you'll have someone you can talk to the next time you're out and about and run into a familiar face. Sometimes the people that we are in competition with are the only familiar face in the room. And sometimes that can be a good thing. That can be a comforting thing. There are all sorts of things you can talk about. There's always the weather. There's always the well-being of the world. There are always children and families. There are things that you can talk about, the latest sports event, if there is one going on. You can talk about all sorts of things. It's probably better not to talk about work, but to connect with the other person in a human-to-human kind of a way, and just see if you can have a nice little exchange with somebody. It doesn't have to be long, doesn't have to be big. It could just be a nice little conversation in the elevator. It doesn't need to be a full-on meal out, although that's not a bad idea either. See what you can do to open up that doorway, and it might take 2 or 3 times trying before you can make a connection, but it's worth the effort. It's worth building that longevity, building that respect, building that trust, and building relationships with other people. Now, not everyone is going to go along with this. There are people who are definitely in that crush your competition camp, and they're not going to want to have anything to do with you. But here's the thing. If you have tried, if you have sincerely made an effort, if you have stayed calm, if you've taken that high road, if you've remained classy, then that is all you can do. The only behavior that you can control is your own. You can't control what other people say or what they think or what they do or how they feel. That is completely out of your realm of control. So if you have done your absolute best to make an opening, and if you continue every time you see this person to smile and be nice and be friendly, well, then you've done all that you can possibly do. And you can be satisfied in knowing that you gave it a good effort. The way you win at sales is by providing more value and more service to your clients and your customers than anyone else. The way you win at being a human being is by being the most kind, the most compassionate, and the most authentic version of yourself that you can possibly be. And if more of us did that on this planet, we might not be in the mess that we're in today. That got a little preachy, didn't it? But I hope this answered the question. Be kind, be pleasant, and it will reflect really well on you. And you might be pleasantly surprised at what happens when you do that with someone who you have previously seen only as your competition. And if you have any other topics, viewer requests that you would like me to answer, please leave them in the description box below. Hit like if you would like more content like this. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next video that I have linked on the screen here. And this video is how to be more likable instantly.